Welcome, everybody, to my Building Resilient podcast. I'm going to be here today introducing a wonderful thing that I want to share with you. I'm very excited because this is part of my journey. What I'm doing today, I began this podcast like 6 months ago. Many of you have been following this podcast when I began. This podcast, when I began it, really was a talk show that in LinkedIn, they were doing these LinkedIn audio rooms. I began to attend audio room as guest. I began not as a guest, only as part of the audience. At some point, I began to, to go and speak, raise the hands and begin to speak. And I began to get more notice and begin to get as a former speaker as a guest in some shows, and became more and more invited because the people that don't know me, I'm a former hostage. They went through that situation during 5 years. So when I came back in 2022, I really didn't have no expertise in nothing of this. So I began to know things. The only thing that I really was aware is that I needed to raise the awareness on the hostage diplomas. That today I'm a big advocate. By the way, I'm going to be flying in 3 days to Washington to a week event that is called the Hostage Awareness Week, where several foundations that I connected today with them that work in the hostage community are going to be working to amplify the message. But that's not the reason of this video. The reason is this video is that I begin to be getting invited as guests in several podcasts. And to be honest, I have done so far around 100 podcasts. And I have been showcased in several medias because I became like one of the vocal voices in the hostage community. And every time something was going on with any hostage situation in the world, the media called me. I was interviewed by Anderson Cooper in CNN. I was interviewed with Juan Carlos Lopez, the anchor of CNN in Español, in Univision, in Telemundo. I have been interviewing CBS, NBC, ABC, a lot of local channels and tons of medias. But that's not the case. What I decided is that when I begin to have my own LinkedIn audio room, I begin to, get more connected with the people, and I begin to love it because the interaction that was being created, the people coming to the stage, and I decided to create a talk show. One day, I was contacted by the radio station, HOD Radio Network, is a Christian radio station, and they told me, hey, we love what you're doing. Why don't you have a show with us? And there's where I launched my program, Building Resilience. And I was by that time doing a newsletter that was called Building Resilience, where I was talking about resilience, leadership, because I begin to talk a lot about leadership and resilience, both things that for me are really very connected. I cannot imagine a leader that is not resilient, so that or somebody that is resilient that is not a leader. So both are really connected. So I have created my newsletter like a couple of months ago, and it began to get also traction. Today I have around 4,000 followers, and there are readers of my newsletter. But once I decided to do the podcast called Building Resilience, send the newsletter, I began to say, okay, let's do something. Let's do a newsletter where I decided to talk about any topic that is trending in the leadership or in the resilient space. And I published this newsletter, and I decided to next Monday, because I decided to do Monday morning is the beginning of the week. Everybody's coming from the weekend, beginning the week, are really chilling out. So I said, let me do it on Monday morning, 8 a.m., and talk about what I write it in the newsletter. And it began to get that way. I keep doing it during a couple of months that way. So I did like a 1 hour show. I had this program. They began to be aired in the radio station, but at the same time, I begin to do a LinkedIn audio. So I begin to do simultaneously in the radio station a live and a LinkedIn audio room. Same time, in parallel with two cameras. Half hour of the show was me talking about the topic, and then I opened the mics so that the people came to the stage. And it began to get attraction, because every time I left the recorded of the video in the Facebook channel of the radio station, almost 1,000 followers after a couple of days. And I begin to post it in my YouTube channel and begin to get also traction. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 followers every week. So I decided, okay, so let's go to the next level. Couple of weeks ago, I decided to merge my Building Resilient podcast and convert it in a formal interview podcast. And I said, okay, let's do something. I created a series about the most important leadership skills necessary for a leader in today's world. So I did 4 shows talking about emotional intelligence, servant leadership, adaptability in leadership, and anti-fragile mindset leadership. 4 wonderful programs with 4 wonderful guests, because I talked with Christina West, that she's a Chicago-based, in Alaska, expert in emotional intelligence. I have Lawana Bradford. She's from, I believe she's from Atlanta, but based in Arizona, expert in anti-fragile mindset. I had my good friend Charles Hams. He's a true cowboy here from Texas, here located here in Houston, that he talked about adaptability in leadership. And I had also my good friend Tara Lafon-Gouche, that she talked about servant leadership. 4 extraordinary programs. The 4 went viral in my YouTube channel. So I said, okay, what is the next? So I decided to create what today I'm launching. That is a series of, it's a 4-month series where I'm gonna be talking about meeting the expert, strengthening the leadership and the resilience for the journey ahead. So I'm gonna be talking during May, June, July, and August, 4 months, with 14 experts, each expert in each area, that will help you. If you hear the 14 programs, you're gonna really get a lot of boost in your leadership and in your resilient journey, in the journey ahead, because it's gonna be for the next 6 months of the year. So I encourage the people that are hearing this, that every Monday morning, hear my show where I'm gonna be interviewing an expert. These programs are gonna be aired in Restream. That is a platform that I'm using because it allows you to go to several platforms. So it's gonna be simultaneously showcased in LinkedIn, in Facebook, in YouTube, and Instagram, and in the HOD radio station. So I'm gonna be airing it in 5 platforms simultaneously every Monday morning, 8 a.m. Central Time. I thought that Central Time is a good timing because the people that are in Europe is going to be like 1 p.m. The people that are in the north here in the U.S. is going to be like 9 a.m. Pacific Time maybe it's a little bit more early. It's like 6 a.m. But people are driving in their car to go to their job. They can be hearing in the radio. And also for the people that are in Australia, South Africa, Africa, etc., it's going to be maybe 4 or 5 p.m. So I believe that everybody can be connected to the show. So this Monday, I'm going to be kicking off this new series. And I'm going to talk here, who are these experts? So you get excited to the people I'm going to have in my show. one of my first show I'm gonna do with my dear friend Karen Hall Olsen. She's recognized like she's called the Queen of Empathy. I know her in person. Is a person, a wonderful person, that she is a real empathy. And she's today the director of the LA Tribune in Los Angeles, a very reputable newspaper in the woman edition, and she's also connected to the Spanish edition. And she's the host of the wonderful podcast that is called The Hero Within. I'm being honored to have been in her show. She bridged the neuroscience with the spiritual development, with a high impact in leadership. Karen is an incredible person that you will love hearing her wisdom. And today that she is in front of the LA Tribune, well, can you imagine the impact that she has? My second guest that I'm going to have in the row is going to be Dr. Brian Klossner. Brian Klossner is the director of a hyper big medical center that is in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's called the WakeMed Medical Center. So I got connected to Brian in the most incredible way. I was, when I came back from my hostage situation, I went to 2 recovery processes. I did my first recovery process. Immediately as we were released, we landed in a military base here in San Antonio, Texas. I'm in Houston base. And we landed in a military base called the Army Brooks. Huge military base here in the US. There is a confluence of the Army, the Navy, and the aviation. There are the 3 forces there. And there's a big center there for recovery, for prisoners of wars and missing in action militaries. And we are not military, but they decided to include in the program that they use for them, that is called the PISA. It's the Post-Isolation Adaptability Program. So it's a decompression program that was a wonderful. But after that, we got connected with one of these incredible foundations that I'm going to be supporting, going to their event next week in Washington, D.C. It's called Hostage US. Hostage US is a foundation that they are very connected to the families that are gone or have been part of a hostage situation, and former hostage that they have returned. They help the hostage and their family. They give mental support, physical support, how to regain your life back, and physical support. So it's mental, physical, and even financial. How to. I was part of that program, and part of one of the big partners of Hostage US is the WakeMed Medical Center. So they have a program that is called the Medical Marathon. That I went through that program. It's a almost 1 week program where you are deeply immersed in a lot of not only physical scanning, it's the brain scanning, the spiritual connection, and the health from the mental health point of view with therapies. This medical center has around 1,000 therapies. So Brian is the director of that center. And I'm very honored to know him. And we got so connected, and we became so good friends that when I decided to write my book, I asked him to be the prologist of my book. So if you go to my book, From Hero to Billion, you will see that Dr. Brian Klossner, I'm very honored that he did the prologue of my book. He's in the back cover of my book. And also, when you open my book, that you see the prologue, you will see his prologue of my book. That is wonderful. He wrote also his own book. He wrote the book called The Gasp. Brian is a strong advocate for the homeless. He has been studying the homeless situation deeply understanding that and created this great book because he's a national expert in homeless advocacy. Also, he has great connection with often U.S. helping former hostages in their health and their mental health recovery. I'm going to have another guest that is Daisy Rosenblum. Daisy is also a therapist. She's from Colombia. She's a American Hispanic life psychotherapist. She's a trauma recovery psychotherapist. Also is advocate for part of the hostage U.S. advocate for recovery of former hostages. I'm honored that she's my personal therapist. And so she is an incredible person. You will love her program. It will blow your mind when you hear the stories that they are going to be sharing with you. Then I'm going to have two incredible guests. This Leah Tran and Sarah Im. Both are Cambodian. Both are survivors of the Cambodian genocide. When I met Sarah first, then the Leah. I want to say how I met Sarah. I was one day when I was beginning, I didn't have no social media, nothing to do. I didn't know how to do this. I was invited with a close friend that I have today, that she's from Argentina. I'm going to name her here, Mariana Quesada. She's one of the most important brand expert in LinkedIn in Latin America, and is the number one in Argentina. So I got connected with her, and one day she said, "Hey, Jose, we're going to have a program where I'm going to be, introducing people, networking people during the weekend." In that program, I met two great friends. One is my good friend Angelica Corral, that she was attending the program, and the other person was Sarah. And I remember that this friend told me, "Jose, you need to know this person because this person is very connected with you because she also was a hostage." And when I introduced myself to her, I knew that when there was the Cambodian military riot, the unrest, they took all the population and they took it a hostage. And there was a big genocide. And she by that time had 13 years, I believe. And Leah was kind of a friend. There were two kiddos in a Cambodian military base camp. And they escaped. They could escape. And when they escaped, they flew here to the U.S. Today, both live in the South Florida area. And Sarah became to be an international speaker, an international author, where she tells her story. And today, both are co-founders of an extraordinary group in Facebook called the World of Resilience. They have a large community there. And they have this podcast that is called also World of Resilience, that I also was honored to have been guest in that program. So that's the way I got connected to Leah and Sarah. Today, both are my friends. And Leah she tried to make me be part of one of her business that she's in the insurance side, but well, that's another story. I have another friend that's going to be part of my podcast that is called Ralitza Espasova. Ralitza is a Canadian from Vancouver, but she has a great story. Because Ralitza, we got connected. I don't remember how, to tell you the truth. One day somebody introduced me her, and I began to have these conversations to know each other before we did the podcast. She has a podcast called Authentic Calling, but Ralitza has a very particular thing. She has a medical background, but she became a life coach with a holistic view, and she called herself like the alchemist. And she said that you are an alchemist too because you transform your pain in purpose. But the thing is not that. That when we begin to talk, I asked her, where you come from? I said, no, I'm from Canada, but my dad is from one, I don't remember, it's Romania, one of these, East Europe countries that were through war was a war zone, and it was a communist regime, and we connected there because I'm Venezuelan and they come from a communist regime too. So we were talking about that, and she said, Jose, when I'm talking to you, you are so familiar to me because you are so similar to my dad. So she began to laugh because she heard me talking, and she found that I was so similar to her dad, and she began to call me Uncle Jose. And not only that, we discovered that we have like a kind of a strange connection because she had been a teacher in Aruba, where my son lived in Aruba, and my grandson, she became teacher of my grandson, and I didn't know. So we didn't know that we were connected. So this is this magical connection that we have today, and she became my friend, and I became, as I said, guest in her program. So I became a guest in the Authentic Calling podcast, and now I'm going to be honored to have her here because, again, she has this group today where she guides people to live boldly and truthfully through a holistic approach, and with her medical background also integrating the medicine. My next guest is going to be Wendy Corner. How I get connected to Wendy? Same thing. Somebody introduced me to her. She's a speaking coach, and she's from Scotland, but she's based in Perth, in Australia. And she has an incredible show that is called Page to Stage podcast, because she combines those authors, that's where the page comes, how they can make their story to become speakers. That's why it's called Page to Stage. And she trains the speaker. And I did the show with her. It was incredible. I remember we did it kind of during the midnight because all this is a funky thing with the time zone. So today she's going to be my guest too. And she helps change makers to articulate powerful stories with clarity and conviction. So she's going to be talking about her expertise as a speaker coach. In the row comes another guy that's incredible, Dr. Lauren Michael Harris. My friend, this is blow my mind, this guy. Lauren Michael Harris is from the Chicago area. He's a TV personality. He's a TV personality, and I got connected with him. And by the way, through him, I did a podcast with somebody that I would love to have him for the second round here. There is an incredible guy called Andre Namani. Andre Namani and Lauren Michael are friends. And Namani is a big podcaster that does his podcast all over the world. His podcast is called Permission to Shine. He says he has interviewed the most incredible persons in the world, and he does it live. And I had the humbleness that I was a guest in his show. And he flew here to Houston. We did a podcast in an incredible ranch here in an area called Magnolia. And it's a ranch of a guy that is a Houstonian. That is the true character of the movie that Mark Wahlberg did, the Lone Survivor, the very famous movie Lone Survivor, Oscar winner. That is a guy that was trapped during a war zone. It was acted by Mark Wahlberg, where the real guy of that movie is the owner of the ranch. We did the podcast in that ranch. Well, that guy is connected with Dr. Lauren Michael Harris. He's an incredible person, and he's an incredible TEDx speaker. He's a poet. He's an author. He has a book that is called How to Get Speaking Gigs. And he has an incredible show called Bathroom Moment Podcast. And he interviewed people all over the world, and I had the honor to have been a guest of him. He's a raw conversation with a soul-level storytelling. I remember the day that we did the podcast, he was in a basement because there was a thunderstorm. I believe there was I don't know, it was a hurricane, something happening in the area, and he was in the middle of a basement because he was trapped. And we did the podcast with him. We did a podcast. My next guest is going to be a guy that, well, you will love this guy. He's the Pastor Willie F. Peterson. All these people, to tell the truth, today I still don't know how I got connected with them. But the Pastor Willie Peterson is a guy that I believe he's Chicago born, but he lives today in Florida, in the North Florida area. I don't remember. He's for Jupiter, some area in Florida. Okay, Pastor Willie has more than 40 years being a Christian pastor. He retired like 20 years ago. So he today would have 60 years as a pastor. So he retired, I believe it was in 2003, and he created his own company. I believe it's the Kingdom Builder, something like that, where he helps founders of non-profit to develop their non-profit, and he's a grant coach. And he has his own TV show, and he also has an incredible Facebook community. It's a morning prayer. Today has hundreds of thousands of people that pray every morning with him all over the world. I got connected with Pastor Willie because I'm in the process of creating my own non-profit. And one day, I don't remember how I connected in a network, and I introduced myself, and today we are working together. He's helping me in organizing my ideas, how I can launch my own nonprofit. That is an idea that is coming back. But we connected because we're Christian, and he's today like my mentor. I'm going to be very honored to have Pastor Willie Peterson here in the show. Next guest in the row is Judy Romanoff. Coach Judy. Coach Judy is an international recognized divorce and grief recovery coach, and she's the host of the Coach Judy podcast, where she empowers individuals through life transition with faith and compassion. I met Coach Judy through one of these network groups, but she is a TV personality. She if you go to her, she had one incredible TV shows in the past. Today she has her own podcast. And as I said, she is a very well recognized international divorce and grief recovery coach. But she has this life transition show, and I was a guest in her show. Today we're connected, and today we're very good friends. So you're going to love her show too. Lydia Lowery Bosler. Lydia is an incredible person. I still remember when I began my LinkedIn journey. I was in a LinkedIn audio room. I remember that show. I don't remember who was running the show. There was like 100 people in the audience, and the guy that was running the show. I don't want to mention nobody because I don't want to mess up with the names. And that person has said that he will have a 1-minute meditation session. And he introduced Lydia. And I remember that Lydia came with a bell and began to ring the bell with that sound. And she began to talk to put the people to meditate. And her voice, because it was a LinkedIn audio, her voice was so incredible, touching, and mesmerizing that literally I got sleep. And every time I begin to hear this show, every time I was hearing Lydia, I was sleepy. But not sleeping because I was bored. It was a deep sleep during the meditation sessions. So one day we did a Zoom call to introduce ourselves, and we became friends. And we today both are part of a group called Kudos, of a guy that is from London. There's an incredible guy. She's one of the founders of the Kudos group. I have been even in the podcast of Kudos group, and I became 2-time guest in her show. Today she has a show called the Joyful Path podcast. It's incredible, and she makes a fusion with the music, with the sound, with the soul and the serenity, because the people that don't know, she is a musician. She is a very curated musician. I believe she was from the Boston orchestra. She's a very well-known musician. She's a composer, and she's a meditation expert. You're going to love her program. Then we're going to have Demetria Goody. Demetria Goody is a person that blows my mind. She's full emotion, full vibe. She has her own nonprofit. She's a leadership consultant, and she's the host of the Goody Fight podcast. And it's so amazing that her podcast, because she brings faith. Because she's faith-based, with empathy first led to the conflict. So she is always challenging the guest with emotional intelligence and with leadership. And I said she has her own nonprofit, and she's super energetic. I'm going to love having Demetria. I have been guest in the Goody Fight. Now she's going to be my guest. And finally, I'm going to have a guy called Bob Moore. Bob Moore has not been my guest, but I got connected with him, and I saw his story. He's an Olympic medalist. He's an Olympic medalist. He's a two-time Grey Cup champion. But he has a book called The Gift, Comfortable Being Uncomfortable. So he combined his sport mastery into the boardroom mindset. It's going to be an interesting conversation, because today he's a leader, a chief coach for C-suite, and combining his sport expertise. We have a lot of things in common, not because of the sport, it's because we both coach C-suite leaders. But he does it with a sport approach. So these are going to be my guests in these sessions. These are not going to be only interviews. These are going to be really master classes. These are going to be master classes in resilience, master classes in faith, master classes in emotional healing, and master classes in transformer leadership. So I'm going to say here, you need to be in the 14th podcast. I'm going to not only do it live, I'm going to leave the recording, because my podcast is still under transition. Today, my podcast, you will see it in my platform alive. After a live, the recording gets there in LinkedIn, in Facebook, and Instagram. And I have my YouTube channel, the podcast list. So you will have it in the podcast. You go to my YouTube channel. They are hearing this. You click in my YouTube channel, and then you go there to the podcast, and you will hear there. I have not begun audio podcast, but I'm beginning to think to merge also to have a Spotify and other platforms that do audio podcasts, because there are people that sometimes are driving and don't have time to see the podcast, they can hear it. But there's another stage of transition they're going to be going, because I'm having some conversation to merge this to go to a TV show. During these interview sessions, become to be a TV show to be streamed in all the major platforms. I'm talking about Apple TV, Amazon Prime, Roku, all the major platforms. So this is a conversation that is going to be coming. I'm in the middle of the conversation, but that is something that is going to come. So if you're hearing this and you're interested to become part of this, we're in the process to engage in sponsors that will feel that it is a good fit for you to be. So this series is, as I said, is going to be a 4-month series. It's going to start this next, not this next Monday, because you're going to be hearing this on Monday, 28th. So it's going to begin on Monday, May 5. May 5 is going to be my first podcast with Karen Olsen Hall, the Queen of Empathy, the director of the LA Tribune Women Magazine, and the host of the Hero Within podcast. This is going to be my first show. So you're going to be deep diving in. It's going to be a raw conversation. If you heard my other series, very raw. I try to go deep in the personality because I'm connecting today to all these people, but I try to go deep into their personality. Why they begin to do this, their own podcast? What drives them? What is their purpose that drives their life? And you will find incredible stories. You will find incredible stories. I still remember when I did the podcast with my friend Christine West for Emotional Intelligence, a story that, to tell you the truth, I didn't know. She was talking, I asked her, hey, because she lives in Alaska and she's from Chicago. I always was wondering why she lives in Alaska. And I made her the question, Christine, why you live in Alaska? And she gave me a long story, short explanation that she was going through a couple problem. They were separated and she was having a stressful situation. She was having some grief and some, all this thing when you're separating. And one friend came to her and said, hey, get your ass and go out of here. And he recommended her to go to a cruise. And a cruise to where? To Alaska. And she went to a hiking cruise with people that are hiking mountains. And she decided to go alone to hike in glacier. And she said that when she went to the top of the glacier, she got a God revelation. Was an eye-opening, and there's where she decided to become an emotional intelligence expert, because she decided to become a psychologist, and today she's an authority in that area. So this is the type of thing that you will be hearing in this show. It's stories like this, that is not only that people showcasing their expertise, it's giving you tools to inspire you. I that know almost all of them, some of them even I know them today in person. I have been in several events that I today have met most of these guys in person. Some of them I don't know in person, but we have been so connected virtually that it's like we were friends. I remember that, for example, I did an event with Karen, my first guest, and this event was in Dallas. We did the speaker playhouse speaking, and we speak together there. Brian, as I said, I met him he was a patient in the medical marathon in WakeMed. Daisy is my therapist, my personal therapist. We met in person in Washington 1 year ago, and we're going to meet again this next week in Washington too. Kemir, I met her in Dallas also, in another event of a close friend called Terry Lee Harrison, that I'm going to hope to have also Terry Lee as a guest for my next round. She has a wonderful group called Bree Talks. I recommend anybody that wants to begin the speaker journey, BRI Bree Talks. And Kemir was part of the community, so we met there was an event, I believe it was in Arlington, Texas, and I met her in person, and I had the opportunity to give her my book. Leah and Sarah, even I don't know in person. I have done so many Zooms with Leah that I believe that I'm today a friend. Ralisa, as I said, she calls me uncle. She calls me uncle. Wendy, of course, she's in Australia. We don't know in person, but we have also been connected several times. Dr. Lauren, I have done 2 times his podcast, and as I said, he recommended me to Andrea Mani, and we are really connected today. Pastor Willie is helping me in my nonprofit journey. Coach Judy, we don't know in person. We have also been connected several times. Lydia is a very close friend today. Even we don't know in person. They met in Las Vegas last year with a Kudos organization. I didn't have the opportunity to fly to Las Vegas to know her in person, but I hope next time we can have the opportunity to meet us in person. Demetria, same thing. I have done several times with her, so it's a great person. And Bob Mole, I don't know him. I'm expecting it's going to be a great show. So said this, we're coming to the end to this show. I wanted to tell you how it's going to be the dynamic of the show. Come here, hear the show. It's going to be an incredible show. It's going to be a 14-chapter series, and the series is going to be called Meet the Expert. It's the strengthening leadership and resilience to the journey ahead for the next 6 months. If you hear these 14 experts, you're going to have a super boost in your leadership and resilience journey. All of them have incredible stories. All of them have incredible expertise. All of them have incredible podcasts. Well, almost all of them. I have been guesting almost all of them. And today, now I want to showcase them and pour their souls and share it with you. Well, it's going to be fun. So the people that are here, please put your comment, put your clicks, put your claps, and promote this. This is going to be aired next Monday live. And, well, thank you very much, and see you this Monday. Bye-bye.
Join me as I take on the challenge of building a strong support system from scratch and see if I can really make it work. Having a solid support system is essential for any leader who wants to achieve success and maintain a healthy team dynamic.